Hey everybody, welcome to the How to Play series for EverdawnTCG. In this very first video, we're going to go over the basics. Card anatomy, card layout for stats and effects, the phase rotation for turns, win conditions, and then general combat strategy. So let's first start with the cards. The cards are split up into two different decks. You have a support deck, and then you have a creature deck. In your support deck, you have 4 different types of cards. These equip to your creatures that will help or aid them in combat. So there's 4 different types. There's armor, weapon, accessories, and then spell cards. Spell cards aren't equipped to your creature, but they are cast in the middle of combat. So the equipment type cards and your creature cards all fall under 3 different categories. And these are your different combat types. You have magic, melee, and range, which all follow a very traditional RPG style combat triangle where melee has advantage over range, range has advantage over magic, and magic has advantage over range. And that combat triangle applies to the support cards as well as the creature cards. Now in your creature deck, you have 2 different types of creatures. You have 1 champion for the entire deck, and then you have all of your other creatures that you just do basic combat with. You can think of your champion as kind of like your general for battle. They start in the first slot of your bench and they kind of control the field as you're going throughout combat. Now let's take a look at card anatomy. So right here is Old Fenwick. Fenwick has a title at the top. He's got his icons at the top as well that identify the combat type. And then at the bottom, he has an effect in the middle. Every creature card has a when played or on death effect. And then to the left, he's got his attack. And then to the right, he's got defense. Now the top numbers are the base stats. The bottom numbers are the advantage bonuses that it gets to add if it is doing combat with a creature that it has advantage over in that combat triangle. So for example, Old Fenwick could be facing Willow, which is ironic because this is actually Old Fenwick's steed. But anyway, he could be attacking Willow, and Willow is not able to add its attack bonus or its defense bonus because it is at disadvantage against Old Fenwick. Old Fenwick would be able to add his bottom numbers to his attack and to his defense as he is doing combat because he has advantage in the combat triangle. So there's an example. The support cards are also heavily dependent upon combat type. Let's say, for example, you've got the Bone Axe. So you can see it has a stat block, but it also has the effect of the card written in the middle just in case it's confusing. So you've got a +2 and then a +4. The +2 is added to any creature. So even if it's a magic creature, a wizard with a pointy hat can pick up that axe and do some combat with it. But if it's a melee type creature, then instead of adding the +2, it gets to add the +4. So you have to be very intentional with your deck build so that you're matching the combat type of your creatures. This type of layout is the same for accessories and armor, as well as this Bone Axe example of a weapon. Most of them can do something for any creature, but if it matches the type, then the equipment bonus is greater than what it would be otherwise. And that just kind of makes sense. Spell cards are totally irrelevant to the combat type. It does not matter. You can play it in any lane of combat and the spell just happens. That's why they're spells. They're great. So speaking of that, let's look really quick at the field layout and then we'll go into the phases of a player's turn. So the field example that you see here is pretty simple. You've got a bench at the very bottom, you've got the field in the middle, and then the opponent's bench at the very top. You've got lane 1, lane 2, and lane 3. The first slot of each person's bench is the champion slot. So the champion stays there, and then you've got bench 2 and bench 3, and then lane 1, lane 2, and lane 3. When you combine these 3 lanes with the 3 different combat types and with your unique deck build, that is where the bulk of strategy happens in Everdawn. So let's take a look. Magic can attack anywhere and counterattack from any opposing lane. Range can attack or counterattack from straight ahead or adjacent, 1 left or 1 right. And melee can only attack or counterattack from straight ahead. So this is kind of like chess, not checkers. You can't just play cards anywhere. You have to be very strategic in where and how you play your creature cards. There is also no resource system in this game. So it really is like chess in that sense where you can only play a card if there's space to play it. Just like in chess, you can only move a pawn or a queen if there's space to move it that aligns with its build. So in each of these 3 lanes, you can play a creature, 1 per lane, but then to that creature, you can equip 3 different items. You don't have to pay anything to equip it if the equipment slot is open. So to each lane, each creature can have 1 of these 3, 1 weapon, 1 armor, and 1 accessory. You can only play 1 of these cards per lane per turn, and then you can only cast 1 spell per lane per turn as well. Now let's look really quick at turn phases. So you begin your turn with the set phase. The set phase is when you are setting your field up for combat. So you can equip cards to your creature cards. You can move creatures on the field to another lane. If there is an open spot, one of your creatures just died and you need to slide one over, you can do so. You also get the chance to actually set one of your cards. So to turn one of your cards in order to offer its attack bonus and its defense bonus to another card of your choice on the field, which you have to declare when you set. The ability to set comes from your champion being alive. So the idea, again, is to replicate this kind of fantasy battle in our card game. So if your champion dies, the assumption is that you lose coordination ability within your field. If your champion is alive, then you get to set your cards as you wish. The downside of setting your card is that it leaves the card vulnerable, and really is only worth being done if you know that this card is going to be safe for the next turn, because if it sets, then it offers its bonus to another creature regardless of combat type advantage. It offers, say, a +3 or a +2 to another creature in your lane, but the card that is set cannot attack or counterattack for that round of combat. So be careful. So then you head into your combat phase. Combat happens all at the exact same time. So combat is resolved at once. Every card gets to attack one lane, and it has to be a lane that it can reach. The defending player gets first priority in how to defend. So if they have a spell card they want to play per lane to manipulate combat, then they can. And then the attacking player gets a chance to respond per each of those lanes as well. The defender goes first, the attacking player goes second in response to their response. And you only do that once, so you can't just kind of stack this thing up. And then once all of that is done, you resolve combat all at the same time. Now what that means is that when you are receiving an attack, if I'm a creature and I'm receiving an attack, that attack may be enough to kill me, but before I go out, I get a chance to counterattack. So it's kind of like if you were in an actual fantasy battle type of situation, nobody's just sitting there waiting to trade blows, right? They're attacking all at the same time. And so in this example, this is what's happening as well. So everybody resolves combat at the exact same time per lane. At the end of resolving combat, any on-death effects from the cards that died, if there were any, then they get triggered and the creature goes back to the bottom of the creature deck, and all of the support cards that were attached to that creature go to the bottom of the support deck. We'll get more into combat in just a moment, but we'll go to the end phase first. So go to your end phase and you're drawing back up to 5 cards, or +1 if you're at 5 or over, and then you transition and turn it over to the opposing player. Really quick, let's talk about win conditions. The first win condition is depleting your opponent's morale. Each player starts the game with 100 points of morale. 100 points of morale goes down to 0, then that opponent is done. So even if you have creatures that are still on the field or on the bench, if your morale goes to 0, the assumption is that the opposing army would have surrendered. On the flip side, the other win condition is if you totally deplete your opponent's creature cards. When you start the game, you have 3 on the field and 3 on the bench, including your champion, and then you have a bunch of extra ones in your creature deck, but you don't pull from your creature deck unless you have a card with an effect that explicitly says that you may do so. So generally speaking, you have 6 creatures that you have to wipe out in order to win the round. So let's jump back to combat phase real quick to be very specific on how you can accomplish one of these 2 win conditions. The first of depleting your opponent's morale. The opponent's morale can only be damaged if you're attacking an open lane. If you're attacking, let's say you have 25 attack against one creature's 10 defense. That does not mean that 15 rollover damage goes into the morale. That is not how that works. It's not Yu-Gi-Oh! It basically just means that if you attack a card that is, so if you've got 25 and they've got 15 defense, it just means that card is extra dead. It does not go over into the opponent's morale. You have to free up a lane in order to attack the morale. So for example, the type of win condition that you hope to go for plays into your combat strategy and your deck building. If you want to deplete an opponent's morale first, you're going to deck build with probably ranged and magic cards, more heavily magic than anything else, because you can pile up all of your attacks into one lane in particular. And your magic cards can pile up into that lane, typically to kind of offset the different advantages and disadvantage of the different combat reaches of like straight ahead or, you know, in all the 3 lanes. The stats reflect that. So mage has like really high attack, but really low defense, which is pretty typical. Melee's pretty tanky, range is pretty even, you know, across the board. So in general, that's kind of how that works to kind of offset, you know, where Magic isn't just overpowered all the time. But a Magic deck is essentially going to be a deck that is primarily attacking the opponent's morale by piling up all of their cards into one lane so that one card can take out the creature and the other two cards can go straight for the morale. On the flip side, the goal of a melee deck is going to be to wipe out the opposing creature cards because they're all really strong. They're going to go straight ahead and you're going to attack all three lanes at the exact same time and hopefully deplete 3 cards in one turn if you can. So in general, that's the overview of how to play Everdawn. We're going to do more videos in this series of some examples of different combat type strategies that can actually play out in combat, maybe pull up some actual strategic moves that we can show you, and that would be really fun to look at. But in general, hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Feel free to join the Discord to start play testing. We've got a whole tabletop simulator thing set up, and we're doing ongoing tournaments right now, which is super fun. We did the first one a few weeks ago, and it was a blast. We'll do one per month. We're actually in our Founders Series tournament, and all of the people that participate in this tournament will forever be locked in on the website as the original founders of the game that helped kind of bring it to life. So there's a lot more to be said about this game, but the in-depth rulebook is also available in our Discord, and you can jump in. The community would love to help you learn how to play and play test with you. It's a lot of fun. So anyway, thanks for listening to this and tuning in, and we'll see you next time.